So what's up?
Yeah. So Seawee happened this weekend, which is the
Seawee did happen.
Southeastern Wildlife Expo. We usually go to that, but we had some prior obligations, so we couldn't go this year, unfortunately. It's a good time.
You know, kids
Kids are a problem.
they love to just throw a wrench in plans.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, Seawee is a great event, though. I hope to go. I hope to take the kids once they get older. Maybe next year or the year after.
Yeah, they would enjoy the dog jumping and all that stuff. Yeah, it's such a cool event because it's all really close and tight, and you can just see everything. And we run into people we know there too, other vendors, and it's fun to catch up with them. God, what's his name with the collar company? Oh, Upland Downstream.
Oh yeah,
we hadn't contacted that guy in a while. He's such a cool guy.
He is a very cool guy. Yeah, if you haven't been to Seawee, Southeastern Wildlife Expo, this thing is driving me nuts. You should go. It's a great time in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, tons of good food, lots of people, and we had the last time we were there, an eventful trip. Yeah. I mean, it was only 2 days we were there, but so this was what?
It was the year before COVID, right?
3 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago we went, right when we were starting the camo stuff, but still, chest deep in ring development and trying to expand the barrel band. And we got there and learned somehow, I guess through just receiving the registration packet, that there was going to be a huge Ducks Unlimited dinner Saturday night, I think it was.
Yeah, and there's like a oyster roast or broil. I forget exactly what it was, but they have it, and it's like the biggest DU event of the year, which I didn't know about.
I didn't either. Yeah, and we had been trying to connect with DU for
years.
Yeah, years. Yeah. And we're unsuccessful. And so, as the day went on, we were trying to decide. I think this was Friday evening and Saturday morning. We're trying to decide, should we go attend this event and just, try and corner the CEO or somebody.
I think it actually started, we were like, let's just go for a good time. It was like oysters and drinks. And then you came up with the idea. You're like, what if Adam Putnam is there, the CEO? And we have a connection with Adam that a lot of people don't have. He's from Polk County like us. And I think he knows your father and my father somehow.
Yes. Lakeland is a very small town, although it's growing like crazy, but it has very small town feelings and roots. And Adam Putnam, our former head of Department of Agriculture in Florida, ran for governor, was unsuccessful in that, but he's a great dude, became CEO of Ducks Unlimited that same year, I think.
Yeah, immediately after the gubernatorial race. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, he became CEO, announced it.
Yeah,
a week later.
Which was just,
it's crazy knowing him from Polk County.
It is, and us, trying so hard to get in with Ducks Unlimited because they're such a respectable brand and been around for so long. I think over 100 years. Yeah. And so I was like, I wonder if Adam Putnam's going to be here or be there for the event. Seawee's a fancy event anyway. Maybe the CEO of Ducks Unlimited would come to the fancy big event.
Yeah.
And so I reached out to a friend who knows him, and it was funny. I was like, can you just send me his phone number? And he's like, I can't do that. He's a big deal and you're not. So
yeah.
But he said, I can guarantee you he is there. And I have told him that you're going to the event. You're going to be looking for him.
Yeah. So we in our mind walking around, we're like, we'll just go find him and shake his hand.
Yeah,
and
we'll just go find him and talk to him.
Not a big deal. It'd be a couple hundred people there or whatever. And then I remember we showed up. I think it was like 7 or 8 o'clock, and there was a line of 200 people to get in.
Out the door.
Out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was, I think we heard there was like 2,000 people that attended that event. Yeah. So I remember once we got in, so imagine this giant barn.
Yeah. It was an airplane hangar, I think.
Okay.
Old airplane hangar.
Yeah, that's a better description. a giant airplane hangar, just wide open, with this huge line of tables down the middle, probably 30 tables, just full of food, buffet style, and then a couple bars downstairs. And we walk in, and it's just like, oh shit, we're never gonna find.
We don't have a prayer.
Adam Putnam.
And we looked for a while too. That was like our first. We're gonna find Adam. We're gonna talk to him, and then we're gonna have some fun, get some drinks, bid on some stuff, whatever. And it was a wake up call when we walked in that place.
And so I, as a young boy, was pretty excellent at Where's Waldo. Just saying. And that's exactly where my mind went. I just started scanning. Now, granted, we had a little bit to drink prior to this, so
we did.
We were we were definitely being a little more ballsy. Excuse my French, I already said cuss words, but whatever. No. But that was the perfect situation. So I start looking around, trying to, in my mind, I'm like, Adam's going to be somewhere where most people aren't. If he's the CEO of this brand. And I look up and I see this event going on upstairs, like on the side. They had this
like a separate event.
Like separate event, yeah. And everybody was in sport coats and ties. Everybody downstairs was just like jeans and flannel shirts or whatever, t-shirts, jackets, yeah.
Regular DU event stuff.
But I look up and I'm like, okay, there's a group of about 50 people up in this room, all dressed very nicely. Adam's got to be up there. Mm-hmm. We need to get up there. And I talked it over with you. You're like, let's go. So we make our way to the crowd. We find the stairs, and there's this big black security guard standing there. Mm-hmm. And it was just like second nature for us. We just didn't even hesitate. Walked right past him and just waved to him like, what's up, man?
Well, we pulled the we belong here card. Don't look at anybody, just kind of walk casual past them. And he was like, yeah,
just go with
confidence. They need to be here.
Go with confidence. And we just rushed upstairs, waved to the dude, what's up, man? And he didn't say a word. We walk right up and walk right in the door and stand in the back. And I think they were just about to end the event.
Adam was talking, and there was a U around him of everybody. And so they were all facing the other way when we walked in. So we got in, and it was fine. And I turned to Jesse, and like I said, Jesse said we had a few. And I was like, hey, man, this might take a few minutes. You want me to go get us some more drinks? And Jesse was like, absolutely. So I walk out of the double glass doors and leave Jesse. And so he's in this room by himself. I have no idea what's going on. And I go back downstairs, wait in the drink line downstairs, which takes forever. Get drinks, and then I walk.
Well, yeah, so meanwhile, while Jonathan's downstairs, now I'm by myself. If I get caught, I'm screwed. Jonathan's going to run as he should. I don't know that guy. And I, again, just start scanning the room. I'm like, okay, what do these people have that I don't? How can I make it look like I'm supposed to be here? And I noticed they all had name tags on.
Yeah.
So I go right up to the name tag table. And thankfully, like you were saying, Adam was talking. It was towards the end of their little event. And I snagged 2 name tags and just write Jesse and Jonathan and put barrel band underneath.
So back to me. I go down and I'm getting us drinks, and I don't know if there wasn't service or what the situation was, but I texted Jesse and I was like, hey, I got drinks, headed back. And there was no response. I was like, no big deal. I'll walk past our boy, the security guard, let us right past again. And I go to the door, and the door's locked this time.
That's right.
And so I was like, oh no, what? And I kind of scanned, peeking through the window, looking for it. Can't see Jesse anywhere. And so I'm starting to panic. This is our one shot to maybe meet Adam Putnam and give him our pitch. And he got kicked out.
Yeah.
I'm about to get kicked out.
Right.
So I circle back around to where the official entrance is. And there's 2, it looks like college kids sitting there, taking names. And I walk up, I'm like, hey, my buddy's inside. I'm in there. And they're like, are you on the list? I'm like, no, but I'm on the list with him. And they're like, no. And I was like, oh, man. So I walk off. I'm texting Jesse. No response. And then the liquid courage kicks in. And I'm like, I'm just going to wait till these guys aren't looking and walk right past them.
Yep.
And lo and behold, somebody walked up, and I jetted right past. Meanwhile, inside, I'm panicking. Because I'm like, Jesse's not in here. If I'm going to walk in, they're going to catch me too. We're screwed. We're never going to have a deal with DU. And I walk in with 2 drinks. And Jesse, I see the back of him, and he's standing at the bar, a free complimentary bar, with 2 drinks. He turns around and he goes, "Hey, man," hands me a name tag, slapped the name tag on, and we were ready to roll.
Yep. I had noticed after I got the name tags that everyone was going to a bar that was in that room. Mm-hmm. And so I watched them for a second to see if they were handing the bartenders a ticket or a token or something, or paying cash, and they were just getting free drinks. So I hop in line, slap my name tag on, and order 2 Woodford Reserves, I think, on the rocks.
Meanwhile, we are completely underdressed. Everyone is in completely like a sport coat, and I think you're like flannel and jeans, and I was probably in something in Carhartts or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so we stood out like sore thumbs.
Yes.
Like, I don't know why they didn't say anything to us to begin with.
Well, and so we had a strategy behind that too. Like, we made quick work of, once you got back in there, we walked right up to Adam. Mm-hmm. And I think I even said, like, if we start talking to Adam, they're not going to kick us out.
That's exactly what happened. Yes. And it was like, they can't kick us out.
They can't kick us out if we're talking to the CEO. So we walked right up behind him, and I think I actually interrupted him. Mm-hmm. Like, I tapped him on the shoulder. And because, when you awkwardly stand behind somebody and they're having a conversation, it's like, do they know I'm here? Yeah. Or they not know I'm here? But we had to make quick work before someone else came up to us. So interrupted them, introduced ourselves, and thankfully Adam is a phenomenal individual.
Absolutely.
And did know that we were going to be there. Was super glad that, we did interrupt and make that connection.
We did sneak in the event, which I think it was like a 10,000 or 20,000 up donor like area.
Yes, it was like the big donor pre-event cocktail.
Well, in hindsight, we've given more than that back to DU. With,
absolutely,
with the donations and stuff like that. So
yeah, it was meant to be. It was such a abnormal situation, but it was fun, to try that, and we ended up chatting with Adam. He introduced us to his director of corporate relations or something like that.
Yeah.
For licensing, and
then his wife was there. We talked to her forever. Yeah. Yep. But it was so funny because we walked up to him, and I think you'd hit him on the shoulder when he was done talking. He turned around, and it was like, "Oh, hey, nice to meet you guys. Yeah, I'm glad you're here." And we spoke for 5 minutes, and I think I started elevator pitching him like, "Hey, we got this band with Polk County, put ducks on it. It's made out of gun barrels, perfect for DU." And he's like, "Whoa, guys, hold on." And I was like, "Oh no." And he's like, "Let me put you in touch with my corporate relations guy. This is so and so. We won't say his name." And I don't know if you want to tell that part of the story.
Well, yeah, I mean, he's been great too.
He has.
Jeremy, I had reached out to Jeremy probably 2 or 3 other times in the past, and so when Adam brings us over to him, we introduce ourselves to Jeremy, and he's like, "This sounds familiar," and he's like, "Well, let me get your information," because his boss is standing right over his shoulder.
Yeah, exactly.
And see what we can do. And he's like, "What's your name?" And I said, "Jesse Larson." He starts typing in my name, and I can see in his phone, like, all of my contact information pops up. So he absolutely had my information. And maybe he just hadn't, had time to get back with me, or who knows. But regardless, that's just proof to the pudding that you got a squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yeah.
And we made connection with him finally. And he saw it. He didn't have to go meet with Adam separately. He knew that Adam approved, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, Adam was like, "Take care of these guys, make it happen."
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that I think we said this in the last podcast, but the craziest thing was they had never done a strictly e-commerce business before, because DU, I mean, they really look after the people that are members, and so they always had. I guess the stick was that they wanted you to have whatever your product was in a physical store so that people could try it or see it in person. And It was really, but Adam came along and he kind of knew that everything was changing going to e-commerce, and he was like, "Let's try it with these guys." So I think it was us, and then there was like an earbud gun situation. I think we were the first 2.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. I can't remember what that other company was. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was just like, I mean, coincidence, kismet, like whatever word you want to say. We were like, we're there, Adam's there, let's try it.
Let's try it. What's the worst that's going to happen? We get we wouldn't get put in jail, but
no. But we could have ruined our chances with DU.
Absolutely.
It helps that we knew him or he knew our parents. I don't think I had met Adam like one time at a gubernatorial event somewhere in Lakeland. But that was like, hey, how you doing? That was it. Well, he's like, oh yeah, no, your dad. Just Lakeland's really small, like Jesse said, and so everybody kind of knows everybody.
Yeah, and there was good reason for it because barrel band is a perfect item for them. I mean, you use shotguns to hunt ducks, so, and they didn't have a lot of jewelry options, especially not a lot for men. I think most of the stuff they had that they offered were like little pennants or pins that you could put on your sport coat or your tie clips or whatever.
And I even hate, because this is my other business, I hate even the word jewelry because it sounds so feminine, and there's nothing wrong with that, but like when you're approaching like DU and guys who love to hunt, like when they hear jewelry, it's automatically like, this is for my wife, or so when we brought something that what I feel is like a lot more masculine and ties in it was like perfect. I mean, absolutely. And still to this day, we sell a ton of them, and it couldn't have been a better fit. It really couldn't have. It was a no-brainer to us. Yeah. We just had to get in front of the right people.
And I was happy to, we had a little bit of struggle with their marketing team early on because they wanted a lot of control over the digital ad spend and stuff like that. But we knew the right path to take, and it was so cool that they entrusted us to handle that.
And that was Jeremy. Kudos to him.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And let us sort of take the reins on how the money so there's a minimum, I guess, amount that you have to spend in advertising to be a licensed partner with DU, which is totally understandable. And if not, you pay that, back to them. And so the goal is to spend that appropriately so that you make your money back on your sales, right? And we just didn't have that much confidence in their team at the time because we were the first e-commerce company that they were going to work with.
Yeah, they had never done it before. So I think they had hired maybe it's their own marketing team now. I don't know. I haven't spoke with the marketing team in a while. But just like people that have never done it before, never been in the e-commerce space, it's new to them.
Right.
And most likely, if it's new to them, they're going to do old things that worked 10 years ago, which don't work anymore. And we had just learned, me and you, like, this is what you need to do. And Barrel Band was successful. We're like, we know this works. Right. Just let us do it. And so, Jeremy was cool enough to be like, hey, we'll do our part, and then you can do yours. And we'll see what works out. And I think it's panned out really well.
Yeah, it has. It has. They just basically kind of audited us quarterly or whatever to make sure that we were spending the money that we had promised we would on advertising. But and since then, I mean, I guess now for 2 years about.
Yeah, 2.5, something like that.
2.5 years.
I forget the exact
We've been a licensed partner, and we've had a big DU event here in Lakeland, which Adam came to.
Yeah. It was actually the highest grossing DU event in the country.
Really?
Last year, yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Well, maybe in the state of Florida, which is one of the highest grossing anyways. But, I mean, I think it was getting around $300,000 donating. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was great.
Yeah, it was fun. Great. Got a picture with him and Grady Judd.
Grady Judd, yep.
Sheriff Grady Judd, who I heard is running again.
Oh, of course.
Another term. I think this will be his last one, though.
Yeah.
Another run. It'd be sad to see Grady go.
Well, everybody's seen Grady. Well, maybe not everybody, but he is on Fox News once a month, once every other month. I mean, and for like a local county sheriff to be on Fox News is ridiculous.
Well, he's a badass.
He really is.
He's a badass.
He lives exactly what he says, man.
He does.
He's great.
He is great.
But yeah, I'll be curious to see how long Adam stays on as CEO. I mean, to me, it's a perfect position for him. Like he is like,
he's
not
right
from
age.
A big city, right age, loves to hunt, loves to fish. I mean, he is incredibly smart. I mean, he was running for governor of Florida.
Yeah.
And I think the only reason he didn't win is because he's running against DeSantis, which I'm sure everyone in the country has heard of DeSantis by now.
Yeah.
He just went against a bear.
Yeah. Well, Adam has that political lobbying experience, and being the CEO of DU it's all politics. Mm-hmm. It's lobbying in Washington for the duck stamp grants and things like that, and the money that comes from. I learned this through a Steve Rinella documentary that and don't quote me on this. I can't guarantee this is factual, but this is my understanding after watching this documentary. I think it was called Sleeping Under the Stars. If you haven't seen it, you need to watch it. It's awesome. It's a documentary he does talking about why he hunts. And he interviews his family, because obviously that had a lot to do with his upbringing and why he hunts. But then he interviews like all sorts of people that don't hunt, vegetarians, vegans, and just it's phenomenal how he talks through the process of hunting and proves that hunters are the biggest conservationists and the reason why conservation exists. It goes back to Theodore Roosevelt, and he talks about that on how like Teddy Roosevelt shot a bison and like danced over it and was just like gave his praise to God and the animal for giving him this meat and having this ability to shoot this bison. But on the same trip, he says something like he couldn't be out of distance of one dead bison without seeing another dead bison. Like there just the rate of killing, there was no management over killing bison, and it just hurt him. And he did kill another bison, but he went back and he had this limited time to pass all these bills, and they're like, you're never going to do it. And he passed like double what he said he was going to do in this like 7-day period, which is now all of these bills that help with wildlife conservation and have created all of the things that we get to enjoy, wildlife management areas and all sorts of stuff. And so also in that documentary, they talk about like when you buy a hunting license, where the money goes. And it's fascinating. Like all the extra money goes to DU.
I didn't know that.
It goes to waterfowl conservation.
Interesting.
It is. You should definitely check it out. And those of you who haven't seen it, check it out. It's a great documentary. Sleeping Under the Stars.
Is that on YouTube or Netflix?
Netflix.
I gotta watch that. Yeah, there's everyone has talked about it on the Rogan podcast, but the big, stick for non-hunters, and we won't get into names, but you know who I'm talking about, those people, starts with a P, is, the killing of lions and elephants and
trophy
hunters in Africa. Yeah. But little do they know that those people are the sole reason those animals are still alive, because their hunts, which are crazy expensive, pay for all the people that watch the game, whether it be a rhino, whether it be an elephant, whether it be, and when they are killing these people, God, that was awful. Yeah, these.
They're not killing them.
When they're killing these animals, it's an older one that's willing to pass. Yeah. It's not like a young lion, and it doesn't sound too sporty. I mean, obviously, if you have a lion in your face, it's extremely sporty. But that money goes directly back to those areas,
those communities and stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there are. I mean, speaking of that, trophy hunters, they talk a lot about trophy hunters in that documentary, and Joe Rogan actually is interviewed in it, and he talks about that. He talks about who was the dentist, I think, that killed a lion.
Yeah, he was famous forever.
Not famous. He was hated. Infamous for his terrible decision to kill this lion that everybody loved.
It had a name.
Yeah, I can't remember it. But Joe Rogan talks about just how terrible that was for the hunting community. Because that guy didn't give a shit about that lion. He spent a lot of money on it, and he just put such a bad face. Like, go kill a different lion. Don't kill this lion.
Yeah,
that has a name that is it. The lion is infamous amongst these towns, and he's like, "Well, who knows what he thought." I've got so much money. I don't care. I want to kill the most famous lion and have that at my house.
Yeah.
And Joe talks about how he just hated that for the hunting community because that is not what 98% of hunters are, you know, or think. You know, we are honestly out there to get food. Mm-hmm. Yes, the experience is fun. You know, they say multiple times, a lot of the guys I interviewed are like, if you ask me if I enjoy this, yes, I enjoy killing an animal. But I don't enjoy killing an animal because I'm just killing an animal. I enjoy it because I'm going to have so many other benefits from it. You know, food for my family, the experience in the outdoors, and understanding nature, understanding how these animals work. And it just, the more you hunt, the more you realize you have to protect these animals, and conservation is extremely important so that you can do this again next year.
Yeah.
You know?
And that it's a mindset, and that goes everything back to DU. You know, DU has so many podcasts and newsletters and magazines and about the best way to hunt and where to hunt and what the migration's doing. But at the same time, they're buying land up to conserve that, you know.
Or their land's being donated.
Yeah, land's being donated, one or the other.
Which is great. Yeah, it's in order to create areas in every state or in the flyway, I guess, states. Yeah. So that these ducks have a great place to land and eat and continue to survive. Yeah, it's an important thing. So support your local DU chapter. Get a DU ring. I didn't say this earlier, but back to the initial pitch to Adam, I think this is a funny topic. Our pitch was, look, what is the market buying rings? It's probably 20 to 40 on average, 35 maybe.
Yeah.
For the majority. If you get a guy who buys a Ducks Unlimited wedding band, he wears this all day long, and one of his buddies asks about it, like, oh, that's a cool wedding band you have. Oh, yeah, it's a Ducks Unlimited. Oh, are you a member? And if he says no, you know, he's instantly feels guilty that he's not a member because
he just bought the ring.
Yeah, he's a poser.
He's a poser. That's
you know,
exactly
he's a fake DU guy who has a DU ring.
Yep.
And so we told Adam, like, look, this is a perfect way to continue memberships and lock in the younger people so that they are members forever as long as they have this ring. Because who wouldn't want to be a DU member, you know, wearing a DU ring? So.
Oh no, that completely makes sense. Like, you don't want to go around your buddies like, oh yeah, man, it's a Ducks. Oh, you DU member? No.
I mean, I guess some people could.
Or lie about it.
Whatever.
But still, like, if you're willing to go out and buy a, you know, $300 to $400 ring, like, you're committed.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Support,
and I think it lets you wear, you know, kind of what you do in Pride. Like, I love duck hunt. I love Ducks Unlimited. I love conservation. Here's, you know, it kind of represents who you are.
Yep.
You know, which I think what the Barrowland does.
Yep, and I wish more. I mean, I don't know much about NWTF, like the National Wild Turkey Federation. I know they do great work as well. That's an organization I think we need to approach, partner with as well.
Yeah, we've talked about it.
But DU just, I mean, they do something different. They do a great job. I mean, it's probably due to their heritage. Just they've been around for so long. And it was interesting to me that they started in New York.
Yeah.
Of all places.
Yeah.
Which is a great state. But I would have never thought that.
No, you would have thinking like Arkansas.
Missouri,
Texas.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, somewhere under the
Mason-Dixon
line, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, but still it's regardless of, you know, where it started, it's a fantastic organization. One of the it is the most storied in hunting.
Yeah,
you know, for sure. And I mean, we know, it's funny, we know about that in Florida because of fishing. You know, like, they're very strict about I mean, that's how I learned about conservation.
Yeah, to be honest, Coastal Conservation Association, like, CCA.
You can only take snook if you're going to catch them this big and this size, and it makes you ask questions like, well, why that size? Why do I need? And you learn like, spawning and breeding and stuff like that. So even like we talk about hunting all the time, but fishing and anything along that lines, they're way above conservation. I mean, it's like people, they look down upon it, but if you do just a little bit of research, you can find out that hunters and fishers alike, they're looking to expand the population because they can catch more fish and they can take care of what they've, taken away from, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Yeah, Florida is how do I say this? A model state, I would think, for coastal or water conservation, and I think specifically because of the Everglades. They're not new, but in the last maybe, again, don't quote me on this, 5 to 7 years, Captains for Clean Water.
Yeah,
man, talk about
I almost wore that hat on the podcast, by the way.
Did you have it?
I have it here.
I saw one when I was yeah. I was like, where did this come from? They are, I mean, they have done a phenomenal job establishing themselves, because if you don't know, in Florida, we have the Everglades. We have a lot of agriculture here in the central part of the state that moves south all the way to the Everglades or close to it. And a lot of that ag on the southern half of the state is sugarcane and citrus. And so there's this, I won't overcomplicate this, but there's all these waterways. Because Florida is so flat, we have to dig these waterways, and we get so much rainwater, it's got to go somewhere. So they dig all these trenches and these waterways that are all connected and that flow all through each other. And the agriculture guys pump out of this to water the plants, and then it drains back into these canals. So they're dumping all this fertilizer and stuff on it, which I understand is necessary in some ways, probably not in a lot, but and there are obviously lots of ways to fix this that no one was ever concerned about. And finally, Captains for Clean Water came about and made a stance and pushed, in Tallahassee and in Washington to make some major changes, because this runoff from all the development too, it's not just ag, it's housing development, everything. Like all these chemicals were washing back into all these waterways that were developed for the purpose of ag, and that all flows south into the Everglades and creates red tide. Yeah. Or one of the leading causes of red tide. And if you know how the water flows, it actually comes down the East Coast, comes south, and wraps around the Gulf, or wraps around the Keys, and comes back in and moves north on the west coast of Florida. So it's just, as this water flows south out of all this ag land into the Everglades, it's now being picked up by the Gulf Stream there and being shot north, so it damages all of the beaches and areas that we're close to.
Basically wraps around all of Florida.
Yeah, the Gulf Stream does. Yep. And it comes back up into Louisiana area. But it shoots way out into the Gulf, about at St. Petersburg, Tarpon Springs area. So from Fort Myers to St. Pete, we just get hammered with all this shit, and it's been terrible for our water. But thankfully, some big bills have passed recently, big changes. I know the Army Corps of Engineers is building like this massive reservoir for all of this drainage to go into, to sit and let all the bad crap settle, so that the good water can flow out. But nature is resilient, and it always bounces back. But anything we can do to
organizations like Captains for Clean Water, Ducks Unlimited, they're just kind of pushing it ahead. Because us as Homo sapiens, we tend to ruin it. But
and we love it. This is what our business is about, is being outdoors and enjoying the outdoors, and the ability to hunt and fish and not go out there and see a bunch of dead fish all over the beaches. would be nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, anything we can do, especially, we obviously have a partnership with Ducks Unlimited, and we're looking at other things as well. Anything we can do to give back, from what we take, I think is huge.
Absolutely.
It's what I was raised on and what you were raised on, and I want to see my kids and your kids, have the same exact, if not better.
Yeah.
We have.
And I think it will. I mean, I think there is going to be a change in our generation. It seems like it anyway, that people will be more concerned about this. Just with the rise in population, development, everything else, we need to be on top of this, you know?
Yeah, especially because everybody's moving to Florida anyways.
Yeah.
We got a little deep there.
Yeah. Well, we got into conservation. It's good.
Yeah. I know I'm passionate about it. I know you are too.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys for listening. I hope you enjoyed that. Please join or support how you can. If it's not through a membership, just be a conscious outdoorsman. Don't leave your shit behind. Pick it up.
Yep.
Pick up other people's crap that they leave behind. And,
my dad always said, leave it as you found it, if not better.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly how it should be.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. So that way we can all continue to enjoy it. But we'll catch up with you guys soon. This was episode 2. I guess we'll title it Conservation.
Yeah. There you go.
All right. Thank you guys. See ya.